Years after building the most powerful weapon in history, Oppenheimer publicly admitted something few expected. In a 1965 television interview, Robert Oppenheimer sat across from the journalist, his face weathered by years of controversy. When asked about the atomic bomb, he paused. Then he quoted Hindu scripture, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds." But this was not the beginning of his story. It was the epilogue to a life that changed the course of human history. A life filled with brilliance, ambition, and a decision that would haunt him forever. Who was Robert Oppenheimer before the bomb? What drove a theoretical physicist into the most secretive military project America had ever conceived? And why did the government that once celebrated him later turn against him? This is the compact biography of the man they called the father of the atomic bomb. Julius Robert Oppenheimer was born on April 22, 1904, in New York City. His family was wealthy. His father, Julius, had immigrated from Germany and built a successful textile business. His mother, Ella, was a painter. They lived in a spacious apartment on Riverside Drive, surrounded by art and intellectual conversation. From childhood, Robert was different. He collected rocks. He studied poetry. He learned languages with ease. By age 10, he was corresponding with professional geologists about mineral samples. His parents encouraged every curiosity. But Robert was also isolated. He struggled to connect with other children. He was fragile, often sick. His intellect set him apart, but it also made him lonely. At 12, his parents sent him to the Ethical Culture School in Manhattan. The school valued reason, science, and moral responsibility. It shaped his worldview. Education was not just about knowledge. It was about using that knowledge for the greater good. Robert excelled. He graduated early. In 1922, at 18, he enrolled at Harvard University. He wanted to study chemistry, but soon shifted to physics. The subject fascinated him. It was elegant. It explained the universe through equations. He graduated summa cum laude in just 3 years. Then he traveled to Europe, the center of the physics revolution. He studied at Cambridge under J. Thomson, a man who discovered the electron. But Robert was restless. Experimental physics bored him. He wanted theory, he wanted ideas. So he moved to Germany, to the University of Göttingen. There, he worked with Max Born, one of the pioneers of quantum mechanics. Oppenheimer thrived. He published papers. He impressed his professors. In 1927, at just 23, he earned his doctorate. He was brilliant. Everyone agreed. But he was also intense, moody. He smoked constantly. He read Sanskrit. He quoted obscure poetry in conversation. Some colleagues found him arrogant. Others found him magnetic. In 1929, Oppenheimer returned to America. He accepted joint teaching positions at the University of California, Berkeley, and the California Institute of Technology in Pasadena. He would split his time between the two schools, building a new generation of American physicists. At Berkeley, he became a legend. His lectures were dense, rapid-fire, filled with complex mathematics. Students either loved him or were terrified. He demanded perfection. He expected his students to think like him, to see physics as art. But he also inspired loyalty. His students adored him. They called themselves Oppenheimer's boys. He took them to his ranch in New Mexico, where they would ride horses, discuss theory, and stare at the desert sky. During this time, Oppenheimer made significant contributions to quantum mechanics, astrophysics, and theoretical physics. He studied neutron stars. He explored black holes before the term even existed. He was at the cutting edge. But the world outside physics was changing. In 1933, Adolf Hitler came to power in Germany. Oppenheimer watched as Jewish scientists fled Europe. Many were his friends, his mentors. The rise of fascism disturbed him deeply. Oppenheimer had never been political. But now he began attending left-wing meetings. He donated money to anti-fascist causes. He became friends with members of the Communist Party, including his own brother, Frank. His girlfriend, Jean Tatlock, was a communist. So was his future wife, Kitty. He was never a member himself, but he was close. Close enough that the FBI began watching him. Then, in 1939, everything changed. German scientists announced they had split the uranium atom. Nuclear fission was real, and it meant one thing: an atomic bomb was possible. In 1942, the United States launched the Manhattan Project. The goal was simple but staggering: build an atomic bomb before Nazi Germany did. The military needed a scientific director, someone who could coordinate thousands of scientists, engineers, and technicians. Someone who understood the theory and could manage the personalities. They needed a leader. General Leslie Groves, the military head of the project, chose Robert Oppenheimer. It was a controversial choice. Oppenheimer had no Nobel Prize. He had never managed a large project, and his left-wing associations made him a security risk. The FBI had a thick file on him, but Groves saw something in him. Intelligence, yes, but also charisma. Oppenheimer could inspire people. He could make them believe in the impossible. Oppenheimer accepted, and he chose the location: a remote mesa in New Mexico called Los Alamos. Los Alamos was isolated. No paved roads. No infrastructure. Just desert, mountains, and sky. It was perfect, secret, secure, and strangely beautiful. Scientists from around the world arrived: Enrico Fermi, Niels Bohr, Richard Feynman, Hans Bethe, some of the greatest minds in physics, all working toward the same goal. Oppenheimer was everywhere. He attended every meeting. He solved problems on blackboards. He knew every detail of every experiment. He spoke multiple languages, switching effortlessly, depending on who he was talking to. He smoked his pipe, paced the halls, and drove his team forward. But the pressure was immense. The war raged in Europe and the Pacific. Every day mattered. Oppenheimer barely slept. He lost weight. His cough worsened. And there was another pressure, a moral one. What were they building? A weapon of unprecedented power. A weapon that could kill tens of thousands in an instant. Was it necessary? Was it right? Some scientists wrestled with this question, but most believed the answer was yes. If Germany built the bomb first, the consequences would be catastrophic. They had to finish first. In July 1945, they were ready. The first test, codenamed Trinity, was scheduled for the New Mexico desert. On July 16th, at 5:29 a.m., the bomb detonated. The explosion was blinding. A fireball rose into the sky. The shock wave shook the earth. The mushroom cloud climbed miles into the atmosphere. Oppenheimer stood in the observation bunker, watching. Later, he would recall the moment. He thought of the Bhagavad Gita, the Hindu scripture he had read in Sanskrit. Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds. The test was a success. The bomb worked. 3 weeks later, on August 6th, the United States dropped an atomic bomb on Hiroshima, Japan. 3 days after that, another on Nagasaki. The explosions killed over 200,000 people, most of them civilians. Japan surrendered. The war was over. Oppenheimer was a hero. Time magazine put him on the cover. He was celebrated as the man who ended the war, the man who saved American lives. But inside, something had shifted. After the war, Oppenheimer became a public figure. He testified before Congress. He advised the government on nuclear policy. He was appointed chairman of the General Advisory Committee of the Atomic Energy Commission. But he also became vocal about the dangers of nuclear weapons. He warned against an arms race. He opposed the development of the hydrogen bomb, a weapon far more powerful than the atomic bomb. He argued for international control of nuclear technology. This made him enemies. In 1949, the Soviet Union detonated its first atomic bomb. The Cold War had begun. Fear and paranoia gripped America. Senator Joseph McCarthy launched his campaign against suspected communists. Anyone with left-wing associations was suspect. Oppenheimer's past came back to haunt him. His communist friends, his donations, his brother, his wife. The FBI files were reopened. In 1953, President Eisenhower ordered Oppenheimer's security clearance suspended. The Atomic Energy Commission convened a hearing to determine whether he was a security risk. The hearing lasted 4 weeks. It was brutal. Former colleagues testified against him. His phone had been tapped. His private conversations were read aloud. His loyalty was questioned. Oppenheimer defended himself. He admitted his past associations, but denied being disloyal. He had built the bomb. He had served his country. He had nothing to hide. But the decision was already made. In June 1954, the commission voted to revoke his security clearance. Oppenheimer was devastated. He was not accused of espionage. He was not a traitor, but his influence was gone. His voice silenced. He retreated from public life. He remained director of the Institute for Advanced Study in Princeton, where he had worked since 1947. He continued to write, to lecture, to mentor students. But he was no longer at the center of power. Colleagues describe him during this period as withdrawn. Tired, he smoked more than ever. His health declined, but he never fully expressed regret for building the bomb. In interviews, he was careful. He acknowledged the moral weight. He quoted scripture, but he also defended the decision. The bomb ended the war. It saved lives. That was the calculation. Still, those who knew him saw the burden. His friend, physicist Isidore Rabi, said Oppenheimer carried the guilt of the world on his shoulders. In the 1960s, public opinion began to shift. The government quietly tried to rehabilitate him. In 1963, President Lyndon Johnson awarded Oppenheimer the Enrico Fermi Award, the highest honor in nuclear science. It was a gesture of reconciliation. Oppenheimer accepted, but the damage was done. By the mid-1960s, Oppenheimer's health was failing. He had smoked for decades. In 1965, he was diagnosed with throat cancer. He continued working as long as he could. He gave lectures. He attended seminars. But the cancer spread. On February 18, 1967, J. Robert Oppenheimer died at his home in Princeton. He was 62 years old. His funeral was small, private. His ashes were scattered off the coast of the Virgin Islands, near his beloved beach house. The world remembered him as the father of the atomic bomb. But those closest to him remembered something else. A man of extraordinary intelligence and complexity. A man who loved poetry and physics. A man who built a weapon that changed history and spent the rest of his life grappling with what that meant. So what is Oppenheimer's legacy? It is complicated. It cannot be reduced to hero or villain. He was both. He was neither. He helped end a catastrophic war. He also unleashed a technology that now threatens human existence. He was a patriot who was later betrayed by his own government. He was a scientist who understood the power of knowledge and the responsibility that came with it. In 2022, over 50 years after his death, the United States government formally nullified the 1954 decision to revoke his security clearance. Secretary of Energy Jennifer Granholm called the original hearing a flawed process. It was an acknowledgement, however late, that Oppenheimer had been wronged. But the larger questions remain. Should the bomb have been built? Could the war have been won without it? Was there another way? Oppenheimer himself never answered these questions definitively. Perhaps he could not. Perhaps no one can. What we know is this: he was a man who stood at the intersection of science, politics, and morality. He made choices that reverberated across history, and he lived with those choices for the rest of his life. In his later years, Oppenheimer often returned to the Bhagavad Gita, the text that had given him the words to describe the Trinity test. But the Gita is not just about destruction. It is also about duty, about acting in the world even when the outcome is uncertain. Oppenheimer did his duty as he understood it. Whether that duty was right is a question each of us must answer for ourselves. The story of Robert Oppenheimer is not just history. It is a mirror. It asks us what we would do in his position, how we balance knowledge and responsibility, power and consequence. He built the bomb. He changed the world. And he left us with a question that still echoes today. What does it mean to create something you cannot uncreate?